I've been driving my 2020 Model Y for 5 months now, and I still absolutely love this car. I love the instant torque, the fact that it's all electric, and every time I engage the autopilot, it still brings a smile to my face. And in the course of driving my Model Y for these past 5 months, I've discovered these 5 things that were surprising to me, things that I wish that I'd known earlier. Now, these aren't necessarily good things or bad things, they're just surprising things that I didn't know about until I experienced them within the last few months. And I thought that it might be a good idea for me to share them with you guys, in case you guys weren't aware of some of these things as well. So join me today as I go over the 5 important things I've learned after driving my Tesla Model Y for 5 months. Welcome back to Daniel's Brew. If you're a subscriber, thanks for tuning in again. And if you're new here, then after you finish this video, make sure you check out my Tesla Talk playlist for some other great Tesla related videos as well. I'll leave that link below in the description section. So jumping right into it, the first important thing that I've learned in my 5 months of driving my Tesla Model Y is supercharging etiquette. Supercharging is amazing, and thanks to Tesla's vast supercharger network, if you live in a major city, chances are you're always within 25 miles of one of these stations. But if you mostly charge at home and don't frequently visit these stations, you might not know that there's an implicit etiquette here that's followed by your fellow Tesla owners. The first of these etiquette rules is that if possible, try not to park in a stall that's directly next to an already charging Tesla vehicle. Now, the origin of this rule came from back in the day when V2 superchargers were first being rolled out. You see, if you were to pull into one of these V2 superchargers, you would notice that the stalls there would always be paired, meaning that 2 slots would share the max output of 1 charger unit between the 2. And you could tell when you pulled into a V2 charger and this was the case, because the units would be labeled there 1A and 1B or 2A and 2B, indicating that they were linked. And if you were to pull into a 1B slot when there was already a vehicle charging in 1A, you would effectively slow the charging speed for both of your vehicles. This led to the unspoken etiquette rule that if possible, try not to park right next to another Tesla vehicle at a supercharger. Now in early 2020, Tesla unveiled their 3rd generation superchargers, their V3s, and these don't have this problem. So if you were to pull up to one of those, it doesn't matter if you park next to another vehicle or not. But since there are still more V2 superchargers out there, chances are you're still going to be closer in proximity to a V2 station versus a V3 station in the short term. So if that's the case and you happen to pull up to a V2, try to park away from other Tesla vehicles. That is, of course, if you have that option. The second of these etiquette rules is to make sure that you properly vacate your spot after you're done charging. Otherwise, you'll incur idle charges separately from Tesla. As you can imagine, with the growing number of Tesla vehicles on the road, the demand for superchargers is growing at an exponential rate. And if you happen to live in a large city, it's not unusual to see a line forming at superchargers with Tesla sitting on the side waiting for their turn. So as a matter of courtesy, you should never stay in a charging slot longer than you have to charge. And if you happen to sit idle there after your vehicle has stopped charging, Tesla will actually charge you an idle fee. The fee parameters from Tesla are as follows. For every additional minute the car remains connected to the supercharger, it will incur an idle fee. If the car is moved within 5 minutes, the fee is waived. Idle fees only apply when a supercharger station is at 50% capacity or more, and idle fees double when the station is at 100% capacity. So, when you charge at a supercharger, just make sure you leave within 5 minutes after your vehicle has reached your desired charging capacity. And if you happen to leave your vehicle as it's charging, just make sure you check into the Tesla app and make it back in time before your vehicle is done. And the last piece of supercharger etiquette is that if you pull into a stall and notice that the charger is broken or not working properly, be sure to wrap the charger cord along the top of the unit or leave it on the ground. This is the universal sign that Tesla owners use to alert other Tesla owners that this stall is faulty. It helps identify dead spots for those coming in to charge and also helps Tesla repair crews quickly identify which stalls they need to fix. Sticking with the supercharger theme, the second important thing I learned in my 5 months of Tesla ownership is that if you select the right supercharger location on the Tesla map as you're navigating to that supercharger location, your car will actually precondition the battery to be at optimal temperatures to achieve the fastest charge. Now, this feature was announced at a Tesla customer event back in March of 2020, so it may not be news to some of you guys, but one nuance that I discovered was that in your navigation, if you don't select the exact supercharger location as indicated by Tesla, your battery actually won't precondition on the way there. Let me show you what I mean. This is one of the newer V3 superchargers in Las Vegas. It's located at the Link Promenade right next to the Strip. Now, let's say that you wanted to search for this supercharger and simply typed in Link Promenade supercharger or Vegas supercharger or something else similar. In the Tesla map, there would be a slew of choices that would pop up, and they would all pretty much take you to the same spot, that same Link supercharger. But only one of these selections would be the exact right choice that also prompts the battery to precondition as you're driving over there. So you see, when you're on the road and looking for superchargers, it's important to use this icon here to find your next supercharger as opposed to typing in Tesla supercharger on the map. Searching on the map may lead you to find the supercharger, but it may not be the exact labeled location that your Tesla navigation recognizes as the supercharger, which means the vehicle won't know to start the preconditioning process for your battery. I know, it's a minor detail, a small nuance, but I thought it might be worth mentioning here just in case you were searching for superchargers on the map like I was and was confused as to why the preconditioning wasn't happening. At number 3, I've learned that the Tesla service process is really good, except for one annoying flaw. If you've ever had to schedule a service appointment with Tesla, and especially if you've taken an early build of the Model Y, I'm sure you have, you'll know how seamless and efficient their service process is. Starting from the service request process, it's all done in the app and it's pretty straightforward. You simply navigate to the service section of the app where you select which category your request falls into and type in a description for your issue. Then that automatically goes to a service technician at your nearest Tesla service center, and they either schedule a mobile service unit to come out to your location, set up an appointment time for you to come into the main service center, or message you within the app to ask any follow-up questions. And that right there is where the annoying part comes in. You see, one of the flaws that the Tesla app has is that when a service technician messages you through the app, for some reason it doesn't provide you a push notification on your phone. So the only way to know if you've gotten a message is to just randomly go into the app, scroll down to the service section, and check to see if there's a red dot there, indicating that you've got some unread messages. But unless you do this periodically throughout your day, you'd never know that the service team was reaching out to you. Now, in all honesty, whenever I do have a service request in, I do consciously check the app once or twice a day, and it's really not a big deal for me to do that. But it would be nice if the app developers would simply edit the app to allow for these notifications. It's not a huge deal, but I just thought it'd be worth mentioning here. At number 4, this is an interesting one. I didn't realize that cold temperatures affected the total max capacity of the Tesla Model Y battery. Let me give you some context here. Everyone knows that when the temperature gets really cold, the batteries in your Tesla vehicles are less effective and you tend to lose range. And I knew this too. I've read and heard many stories where the battery drainage would be faster than normal in colder regions, and that it would literally kill the range that you're accustomed to in your Tesla vehicle. But what I didn't realize was that the total capacity that you could charge your Tesla to would also decrease. During this past winter, one morning I was surprised to see that my long-range Model Y had only charged to 301 miles, despite it being plugged in all night. That means that I've lost over 25 miles of total range in the capacity. A little concerned, I contacted the service department, and they told me that this is actually normal when it gets really cold. So given the loss in total charging capacity and the more rapid drainage of the battery during cold weather, in this past winter, I've guessed that I've lost about 20 to 30% of my total range on a regular basis due to the temperature. Now luckily, I have the long-range version of the Model Y, so I still have plenty of range left to cover all my daily activities. But if you had the standard range Model 3, and if you commuted a long ways on a regular basis, I can see how this would cause you to have a little bit of range anxiety, at least in the winter. And lastly, in my 5 months of Tesla ownership, I've learned something really important about how the self-driving and the autopilot modes behave. Maybe it's just me, but whenever I break autopilot by taking over the steering wheel, it usually means that I'm reacting to something. I'm usually swerving to avoid something on the road or compensating for auto steer not reading the roads correctly. And in these cases, when I take over from auto steer, I expect to have full control of my vehicle. But what I've noticed is that when you break autopilot with just the steering wheel, the cruise control that manages my speed is still active. And that means that it slows down or accelerates based on the computer's algorithm and not my input. When I first encountered this, it was a bit surprising for me, given that if you break autopilot in any of the other two methods, everything returns to the driver's control. When you hit the brake, both auto steer and cruise control are disengaged. And when you hit up on the drive stalk, again, both auto steer and cruise control are disengaged. I guess I expected the same when I broke the auto steer with just the steering wheel as well. But it's important to note that cruise control remains activated in this case. It's not a huge deal, as I've generally created a habit of pulling up on the drive stalk every time I break autopilot anyway, whether it's by the steering wheel or by brakes, etc. But when it first happened to me, it did give me a bit of a startle. So there you have it. Those are the 5 important things that I've learned while driving my Model Y for the past 5 months. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button so that the YouTube algorithm will show this to more viewers like you. And if you're interested in watching my other Tesla videos, click here to go to that playlist. Also, if you're looking to buy a new Tesla vehicle, make sure you use my referral link to order online so that you can get 1,000 free supercharger miles added to your account. And so that's it for this video. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time on Daniel's Brew.